Welcome back to another episode of How to Do with Mr. Mopar and the supervisor over here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to change the front brake pads and rotors on a 2008 Nissan Xterra. They should be the same for 2005 through 2015. I don't believe they changed a whole lot. First things first, safety. You can see I've got two jack stands, one on either side, and I've also got some pressure on the jack as a backup. You don't need a lot of tools for this, just really basic hand tools. You need a 3/4 inch socket for your lug nuts. You need a 19 millimeter for the brake caliper bracket, and you need a 9/16 for the caliper itself. When I take my tires and lug nuts off, I always set the lug nuts right back in the holes like that, keeps them out of the dirt, and I don't lose them. And I sit on the tire. So once you've got your tire off, the first thing you need to do, looking at your brake caliper here, there's a 9/16 bolt. Well, it's actually the slide pin on the top and one on the bottom. Both of those need to come out. And then on the back side, you can see your caliper bracket. There's going to be a 19 millimeter on the bottom and one more right here at the top. Those both have to come out. You get the caliper off, the bracket off, and you can take your rotor off, slide your new one on. So I'm going to go ahead and get those bolts loose, pause this, and then I'll come back to you. I've got my two 9/16 bolts out of my caliper. It's always a good idea. What I like to do is take a short bungee cord, wrap it around the upper control arm just to hold it. The reason for that is you don't want to put too much pressure on your brake line. A lot of people let them hang, but if you're smart, you won't. You don't want to, if you might have a little rust around the end of it where it's metal or something, you don't want to break your brake line. Make you more headache. Once you get that out, you've got your two 19s on the back of the caliper bracket here. Those have to come out, the bracket will come off. I'm going to add, while you get to this point, if you just need to change your brake pads, this is really all you need to do. You don't even have to take the caliper off. A lot of times you can leave that bottom bolt in the caliper and actually slide it down like that there, and that allows you to pop your pads out, slide your new ones in with the clips, put it back together. Anyhow, I need to change the rotor. So that being said, I'm going to finish taking out my lower bracket bolt from my caliper bracket and then get to the rotor itself. Got the caliper bracket off. Now this rotor is being replaced, so I'm not even concerned with maybe damaging that. It's been on there a while. It's probably not going to want to come off so easy, so I just like to grab a sledge, and if that doesn't work, you can always tap the outside. Just be careful not to hit your studs. She's on there. It's really on there. I'm going to pause this, finish taking that off. Finally got the old caliper off. Another thing that I like to do when I'm in here, you can see that those are dry and just surface rust and crusty. Just a can of WD PB Blaster, and I like to really just soak them. It kind of cleans any grit that might be on the threads, washes them off, lubricates them, and I mean it's never a bad idea. Hit my caliper bolts too, bracket bolts I should say. And thread's good. So now that I've got my caliper bracket in, I've got my new brake pads on, it's time to put the brake caliper itself back on. In order to do that, you need to compress those pistons to fit over the thicker new brake pads. Best way to do that, take your old brake pad, especially with these dual piston calipers, get it nice and square, 6-inch C-clamp. You can see a 6-inch fits just right over the bolt on the back. You can center it between the two pistons, tighten that up, that compresses your caliper, giving you the clearance to get it over the new brake pads. Before I go any further, I want to add too, when you've got your brake caliper off and the bracket's still on there, another good thing to check is your slide pins here. That is what the bolts that hold the brake caliper on go into, and those are supposed to freely basically compress and decompress. Those are your slide pins. If those do not move, it's a good idea to take a wrench, free them up, and put some anti-seize lubricant, some grease on those, and make sure that they slide freely before you put things back together. Otherwise, your brakes are not going to function properly. So basically this side is done. Got a new brake rotor, I've got new brake pads, got everything put back together. I'm going to put my tire on. And go to the other side. Keep in mind, you just put new pads on and you compress your brake caliper here. So when you get in and you first pump your brakes, chances are they're going to feel real soft. They're going to go to the floor. You pump them a couple times, it's going to compress that caliper, reset it, and you're good to go. Hope this helps somebody. Leave me a comment. Let me know if it does. Something else you'd like to see in the future. I've got a Nissan Xterra. Can do a lot of things on this. Again, the only things you really need: 3/4 inch socket for your lug nuts, 9/16 for your caliper, and a 19 for the caliper bracket. Have a good day.